G'day, you having a good time tonight? It's good to hear. It's interesting, a few of the talkers, presenters today have talked about this idea of critical thinking and intrinsic motivation and creativity, and I want to share a little bit today about the ways that we learn the arts and the role of guided inquiry and personal inquiry. And personal inquiry, and by that I mean when we're given an idea and there are no rules to the way in which we explore that idea, naturally lend itself to the arts. In fact, it's the reason why a lot of people fall in love with the arts, especially our children. There's this liberating freedom where they can inquire and explore into the arts and never be wrong in that exploration. There's no one right way to hold a crayon or to sculpt in plasticine or even to the dance to the beat of the music. It frees our children to explore and inquire and formulate their own opinions and come to their own conclusions on what's right and what works for them. This is a picture of my two boys, Luca and Kite, and they're making a maze out of books on the floor. You know who's going to end up cleaning that, don't you? And this is a painting that Luca did. And the amazing thing about my boys when they do paintings is that sometimes when they're doing paintings, the explanation of what they're creating will change while they're actually doing the painting. So with this particular painting, Lucas said that it was a rocket ship to start off with, and then it changed into a painting of mummy, and then it finally ended up as a painting of a praying mantis. And if we're really honest, if we look at this and we say, oh, the purpose of this is to visually represent any of those things, I think we can very honestly say that this is terrible. It looks absolutely nothing like those things. Yes, I'm that father, I know. But I'll never say that. I'll never say that about my children's work because that's not what I view as being of value in this painting. What's of value is my children's exploration into the way that the paintbrush holds and delivers paint, into the mixing of paint on the palette and on the paper, and the way the texture of the paper affects the painting. That's what's of value. That's what makes this a work of art. That's what makes my sons artists. But a really interesting thing happens with our children. At some stage in their lives, they will come to the understanding that in order to be recognized for their creativity, they need one or all three of the following things. They either need some sort of technical skill, they need to be famous, or, as they learn in many art history books, they need to be dead. So, yeah, nothing brings art history alive like art history books. So, being dead's not really an option. Everyone wants to be famous, but Lady Luck probably won't smile on us. So it leaves this idea of a technical skill. And I remember really clearly the day that I discovered this. I was in year 5, my teacher was Mr. Spencer, and we'd been given an art project to create a poster of our favourite movie. And my favourite movie at the time was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And I really loved the chase scene where they were in mining carts. And the image that I had in my mind, I wanted to create a poster where it was looking behind the mining cart, forward you would see part of the mining cart, you would see some of the characters in the mining cart looking down the tunnel. What I didn't understand at the time is it required me to have a working understanding of vanishing point and foreshortening. So I didn't even know that those things existed, let alone have a working understanding of them. So when it came time to draw it, all that I could manage was this squashed top-down view of these things, and it completely frustrated me. Now, like a lot of students when faced with a bad art grade, I did naturally what a lot of people do. I asked my father to do the drawing for me. And my father, being the wonderful man that he was, he drew a scene of his favourite movie and his favourite characters, which was Zorro. So, but the good news was that I did get a good grade for my father's drawing, so it all worked out in the end. But what was really interesting was there was an element of foreshortening with that, and I remember being fascinated by it, and I drew and redrew it because it was a clue to a skill that I didn't have. But there was the rub. I had to do it by rote. I had to continuously repeat that action, and it was completely removed from all of my other experiences in visual arts. Now, fast forward to this year, and this was the dilemma that both myself and the drama teachers at Nagoya International faced with our middle school drama program. We wanted to offer choreography to our students, but the problem is choreography it's that rote style of learning quite frequently. It's that repetition of something until you've memorized it by that repetition. And I acknowledge that that's a methodology that's frequently employed within artistic productions, but as I said before, it's completely removed from the way that we often learn the arts. So we decided that within our drama program that our choreography would need to offer the following things. It would need to be very engaging for our students. It would need to have skills that could be built up and developed. It would need to be offered within a multitude of formats. And it would need to be offered under this umbrella of guided inquiry. And by guided inquiry, I mean when we present an idea, we investigate an idea, and there are several ways in which we can inquire into that idea. So being in Japan, we decided that the best genre that we could explore with this would be Japanese sword fighting techniques. With a focus on samurai movies, it was a great opportunity to explore choreography through that. We thought that nothing could possibly go wrong, that it would be fabulous, everyone would be happy and very safe, and it would be very engaging. So we started off with very basic kendo principles, and it was offered of a hybrid between guided inquiry and very explicit teaching. And we weren't 100% happy with that, but we felt, given our time constraints, that it was the best way to do this. It was a suitable compromise. And it also built up these skills of poise and footwork and basic stance techniques. From there we chose the Ken Watanabe and Tom Cruise movie, The Last Samurai, and we selected a scene from that. And we had our students inquire into that, and we offered them 4 different stations and invited them to choose a method, a way that they felt that they would best learn. Our first station was an audio-visual station where the scene was put on a loop, we projected it up, and students were invited to come and rehearse alongside that loop, or they could just stand back and watch the loop and take it all in, or some of our students watched other students actually performing within that loop, and it gave them an idea of how other students were interpreting the nuances of that scene. Our second station was a sequential pictorial station where we had the scene set up in a series of photographs. And the really great thing about this station is it allowed our students to slow their rehearsal right down to a level that they were comfortable with. And it also meant that they could zero in on particular scenes that they were grappling with or they were having difficulty with. Our third station, we put the video on a laptop, and we allowed our students to pause and rewind and replay certain sections of that scene. And it was really great for students that wanted to compartmentalize the entire scene, and they could string then those compartmentalized scenes into the full performance. And then the last station that we offered was just an audio station where students could download onto their portable music devices the musical background to the fight scene as well as the sound effects. And it gave them these non-visual clues on when to move and the rhythm and the timing and the flow of the scene. Our role as teachers was to make ourselves available when asked for. We only would give our advice when students explicitly asked for us, as well as then obviously set up all of those stations. Now, it was quite challenging. There are a lot of things that we found quite challenging as teachers to do with this. The first one was the amount of time. It took a phenomenal amount of time to do the research, put together these stations, and to really make it work. The second challenge was the pictorial station. While it was very popular, because the scene was shot from multiple camera angles, it was quite difficult for our students to get an understanding of what happened when those camera angles changed. They were looking at the back of the head of one character and then the face of another character. And then finally, just our students getting used to this idea of that they were ultimately responsible for their learning and their learning style that they would choose. Overall, it was immensely successful, so successful that we're now talking with our other art departments, our visual art department and our music department, about how we can incorporate guided inquiry into their curriculum. It's our honest belief that as education moves away from this authoritarian management style of presenting ideas to more of an intrinsic motivation style of learning where mistakes are valued as valid learning opportunities and that students have more say in the ways that they learn, these are the sorts of learning experiences that you're going to see more of. Thank you very much, folks. I hope you have a great night.